guys miss me? Because I definitely missed you. I'm so happy to be back. It is 2025, doing another reset video for you guys. I miss updating you, just yapping, you know? I know we're already a little bit into January, so I was kind of feeling a little bit behind, especially because the holiday season was so busy with Thanksgiving and Christmas. It felt busier than usual, so I didn't really have the time to sit down and reflect until this past week. And if you were feeling any type of way that I did, because I know right now a bunch of reset videos, goals videos, reflection videos are kind of just being pushed on the algorithm right now, and it can feel so overwhelming. Feeling of being behind, I feel like, just comes from this like societal pressure, but knowing that that's just a thought, that's just a feeling, but that's not our realities. Just want to start off with that little reminder because I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, so you're not alone if you felt that way. Again, had this past week to just sit down and reflect, and I wanted to share my highs and lows of 2024, what I have planned for 2025, how I set up my goals, and of course my financial plan, which I feel like is everyone's favorite part. Well, at least my favorite part. Want to start off with reflections for 2024, and let me get out my laptop. Looking back on 2024, I had some incredible wins and some challenges that taught me a lot. One of the biggest lessons I learned this year was to be where my 2 feet are. I'm such a planner. I notice I am very much like a Virgo, a perfectionist. I'm always thinking about what's next or how to be like the most efficient in my day-to-day, that the thing that I'm planning for comes and then I can't enjoy it because I'm thinking about the next thing that I need to do. I need to just take more moments to pause, to breathe, to really just enjoy the moment that I'm in with the people that are surrounding me, because we don't know when we'll see that person next. It's not always guaranteed that you'll see your friends again after this moment. Unfortunately, life is so crazy. Anything can happen. Those moments of quality time, I just feel like I needed to be more present. And that's a big lesson I feel like I learned in 2024 that I want to work on in 2025. But looking at my goals list, I don't want to go through these one by one. As you can kind of see by the status of like completed or not completed, I only completed about half of them, and in school a 50% is a big fat F, unfortunately. Even though I didn't complete these goals per se, something I noticed was that this past year felt really good to me. Went to Hawaii, Japan, Mexico City, so I got to experience a lot of places for the first time. And I also ran my second half marathon, celebrated a few weddings, and then I just feel really good in my career. So like at 26, at this stage in my life, in the year of 2024, I just felt really good, and it reminded me how blessed I am. Like this past year was just so fruitful for me. I had so many great memories that were built this past year. I was also looking at my 2024 ins and outs, and I feel like I did most of these things, which is crazy. I love how I like to call them planting seeds. Even if I don't complete all of the goals that I'm setting, planting the seeds now so that I can achieve them in the future. And I know that this is a goal that I've been working on or want to work towards for a while. And if I could summarize 2024, I would say, I already said it, but this year I really lived. At the start of the year, I didn't write this down, but I remember really feeling like I want to see the world. I want to travel. I want to have more life experiences, and this past year I feel like I got a little glimpse of that. And I feel like it's the first year where I really look back and feel so many good emotions and see a lot of growth in myself. I said this in my 2023 video. It was either my 2023 reset video or my 2024 reset video, but I feel myself becoming the person I'm meant to be, and I still truly feel that way, that every year I'm progressing to be the woman that I'm meant to be on this earth, and that's a really fulfilling feeling. Now, that being said, one area I feel like I did struggle with was not balancing life and work. I felt like when I would rest, my periods of rest were long, and granted, sometimes rest is really good. I'm not saying rest is a bad thing. Rest is really good for you to recover. But if I'm being honest with myself, there were definitely times where I felt like I was resting to avoid my responsibilities rather than really using it as a true form of recovery. And so from that, I feel like I learned that it's definitely important to know when it's time to move forward, to kind of bounce back from that season of rest. It's not just about rotting, but it's really about being mindful of how even in this period of rest, how can I use these moments to come back stronger with more clarity and focus. Yeah, that is my 2024. For 2025, my theme this year is definitely leaning into my duality, finding harmony in the spaces where it may seem like contradictory, like elements of my experiences. And instead of like forcing myself to fit in one box or one way of thinking or one way of being, it's about embracing all parts of who I am. Not only embracing, but acknowledging those parts and allowing them to work together to fuel my growth in like multiple directions. This past year, I was like, it's either this or it's that. And this year, I want to be it's and or both. And that ties into kind of like that abundance mindset that I was trying to work on in 2024. So bringing that over from 2024 to 2025. So we're gonna go back into Notion, and I want to tell you guys all of my goals for 2025. Again, this past year, I split it out into the same categories: personal, health and wellness, finance, social, and career. These are the categories I want to focus on this year, but I know people like to add like a relationships category, a lifestyle category, so it's really up to you. I think this year I kind of lumped relationship and lifestyle goals into my personal goals because too many categories can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I like to limit how many goals I have for myself. And when I plan, I like to make these as specific as possible. I also like to write what my intention is and what habits and actions are associated with that goal. I also like to know if it's like a long-term goal, a mid-term goal, or a short-term goal. So essentially, I like making SMART goals. I feel like everyone talks about this in all the reset videos, but they're basically goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. That's how I structured my 2025. And I'm not going to read all these goals line for line, but kind of explain more so the intentionality behind them. And then I'll show you guys my goals for January so I can show you how I'm supplementing my yearly goals. For personal, like I mentioned, I lumped in some of my relationship and lifestyle goals in here. So these goals really share a common theme of like intentionality and also how I was looking at it, evolving into this next version of myself. I'm 26 now. I still have a lot of the same clothes I had in college, and I think some are even from high school. So it's time to just let those go. Make space in my closet for the new me to come out and to express herself. So that's kind of what that first goal is around. The next one is I want to try journaling again, healing my inner child. I also want to read more and just expand my knowledge and perspective because I feel like reading really does that. You know, as I try to evolve and grow myself as an individual, I also want to remind myself that it's really important to put an effort into my relationship with Julian and also with my friends and family. Now, if we go into the month of January, I only have 2 this month because I feel like right now I only have the capacity to kind of complete the 2 goals that I set out for my yearly goals. So this month I'm going to try to clean out my closet as much as I can. I kind of want to do that practice where it's like you look at a piece of clothing and if it doesn't bring you any more joy, you give it away, you donate it, you sell it, whatever. So want to go through that exercise. And then I also want to read at least 30 minutes before bed. More so like 30 minutes throughout the day, but if I can't do it throughout the day, definitely before bed. Now moving on to health and wellness. My goals around this are really about implementing good habits and truly sticking to them. I didn't want to pile on too many new things that I wasn't already working on because I believe in building this foundation that once I get into the habit of doing these things and it becomes an integral part of my day-to-day where I, can't see myself without doing it, that's when I'll start adding more goals. But I feel like these foundational goals are really what will truly make the impact on my health and wellness in the long run, and this is where I want to invest my time and energy in 2025. The only 2 ones added were holding a handstand for 15 seconds without a wall. That is something a silly thing I want to complete this year. And then also strengthening my immune system. Last year I was really sick. I was getting really sick after traveling. I think I talked about it in a wellness vlog. So this year I want to work on building my immune system. Now if we go into January, these are all of my health and wellness goals. I want to complete January using my walking pad at least 3 times a week. Also want to run at least 10 slow miles this month. The reason I put slow is because these past 2 years I was running to train for a half marathon. So I was constantly pushing myself, and not saying that it wasn't fun or I wasn't really enjoying running. I think after the marathon or the half marathon was completed, I kind of mentally checked out and I was like, oh, I don't need to train it for anything. But now, like, I want to just run to run. I don't have anything to train for. Just run to have a good time because it's good for you. So even if it's not fast, and I think that's the part. It's like I'm embarrassed to run because if I don't hit my PR, then I don't feel like I'm improving. But it's okay if you're not improving. You can just enjoy your time while you're out there. I also want to get an average of 8,000 steps a day. I want to work up to 10,000, but 8,000's a good goal for now. And then we're going to be out of town a little bit for at the end of the month, so working out when out of town or some sort of movement, and then taking seed and creatine every day. If you guys are curious on how I'm tracking all of this stuff, I actually use the app called Done, and it's been so helpful. It tells me how long I've been doing it. I can set which days I want to do certain habits. So I'm thinking about doing like a 2025 like productivity apps that I'd be using, so hopefully within the next month or two, so stick around for that. Finance. This is always a big category for me because I love personal finance. I feel like these goals though that I'm setting and we'll talk about later are a little bit of stretch goals because they're definitely going to be a challenge for me. But a big focus that I have with my finance this year is really living below my means. I knew about lifestyle creep in college and I promised myself, like, when I get a big girl job and I start making big girl money, I won't have lifestyle creep, but you know, it happens and it's natural. But this year I really want to refocus how I'm spending my money and try my very best to live below my means. And that doesn't mean not splurging on myself, but it's like knowing which areas I really want to prioritize this year, investing in there, and then every other area that's not a priority to me, trying not to spend so much in those areas or those categories. In January, my goals really are just focused around reaching all of my savings goals, which we'll go through later, like I mentioned. So I want to set a budget for every planned event. Like if I have a dinner planned, if I have a girls' night out, I want to have like a set budget and then stick to that. Also stick to $50 for a weekend budget for food unless it's a special occasion, because I'm really trying to eat in during the weekdays and then only spend money on food on the weekends. If I do spend money on food on the weekends, doing like a $25 budget for Saturday, a $25 budget for Sunday. So that's a goal that I have for finance. Now for social, I'm going to my 3rd year of YouTube, which is so crazy to me. I still feel like a very much of a beginner, but I feel like I've learned and I've grown so much in this space consciously and unconsciously. I feel like my storytelling has been getting better. I'm trying to be more creative. This year, I really just want to continue growing in this space, creating authentic content that resonates with people, like my community of people, and posting consistently, but not to the point of burnout. The first 2 goals kind of go hand in hand because I feel like if I focus more pre-production, which is really important, it'll help me in the long run. So we're gonna try that in the new year. Also, me and Julian want to start off a social media page this year, and we just need to make that happen because all last year we were talking about it, didn't really do anything about it. So this year we really want to make it a reality, make it real. So for my social this month, I want to finish posting my Japan series, post my January reset, think creatively. We're going to the Philippines, but I want to think about how to make it a creative travel blog, what structure I want, and what shots that would be good before I go on the trip. Because when I film Japan, right now, the reason that it's taking so long is because I don't have a structure for it. I'm kind of figuring it out along as I go, which is a good exercise. But I feel like if I have an idea, if I want to make it more meaningful, pre-planning it would be really helpful. And then also just creating a plan for a new social media page and a stockpile of intros and outros that we'd like to use. That is social. And the very last one is career. This one is also kind of a carryover from 2024, but again, just building on my UI UX design skills. I'm self-taught, so I've been learning everything kind of as I'm going. So I want to take more classes and courses and also start building my portfolio. I also want to get my cloud practitioner training. This was a goal last year, but I didn't even attempt to complete it. So this will be another goal for this year. And then this month for my career, just kind of focusing on and making a more strategic plan of what I want my career goals in UI UX to look like. So those are my yearly and monthly goals. I feel like that was like a mouthful, but hopefully some of this was inspiring and can help you with like your layout and your process for planning 2025 or reevaluating how you look at your 2025 goals. The next part of this video is my favorite part. We're gonna be talking about money. And in 2024, I was really proud. I reached my Solutions Fund savings account. I didn't use anything from my Solutions Fund. I upped my investments in my personal brokerage account. I'm on track to max out my Roth IRA by the end of this tax year. My net worth is at a really good place, but what I'm really proud of, and it's reflected here in my Copilot, which I'll show you guys in a second, is that I wanted to prioritize traveling in the beginning of the year, and that's reflected in my spending plan and my finances. So I don't know, it just feels really good to see that I set out to travel more and it happened, and it's reflected in my goals and my happiness and my emotions, reflected in my finances, and to me that is such like money well spent. Let's go into Copilot, and as you can see here in 2024, rent definitely takes the cake, but traveling was the next thing up, so it's amazing. And having a sinking fund, a traveling sinking fund, is very helpful. Would recommend doing it. This year, looking at my spending, I would say that the rest of these categories all check out. The only thing I feel like I'd want to improve is probably just my bars and nightlife. I think with the reduction of how much I want to drink this year, hopefully that's reflected in my finances as well. But as I mentioned, what I want to improve on is just setting up those like event budgets so I have more money to allocate in my savings and investments, which is why the general goal this year is to just live below my means. And I also asked ChatGPT, like knowing that I spent around $64,000, I asked ChatGPT, on average, how much does a California 25-year-old spend in a year? And they said the lower range is around $43,000 or $44,000, and the upper range is about $78,000. So I'm kind of like up in the upper middle, and that's something that I just feel like I want to try to improve on. Also, if you guys heard about like the 50-30-20 split, I think last year it was to be like 30-30-40, so 30% of my spending in essentials, 30% of my spending in non-essentials, and then 40% in my savings and investments. So if I were to break all this down, it looks like my essentials were actually 37% of my spending, non-essentials were 39% of my spending, and then how much I saved was about 24%. The things that are non-essentials, what I want to improve on and lowering that percentage. Speaking of better systems, I want to show you guys the system that I have set up right now for my savings and investments. It's really sad, like Copilot right now doesn't have a way to track your savings, although that is a feature that I think they're coming out with in the new year. But in the meantime, I created this Notion to track how my spending works, and basically I'll track how much I'm putting into each of my investment buckets, and then if I use any of that money, I can also say like, oh, here's how much I pulled out. You can see my savings and investment goals here. So me and Julian actually had like a life planning date. I saw it like on TikTok and I thought, wait, that's a really good idea. We sat down, we talked about what our 1, 3, 5 year plan looks like as individuals. And then we talked about where do we see ourselves like in terms of having kids? Do we want to have kids? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to have a wedding? If you have a wedding, do you want a big wedding? Do you want a small wedding? Where are you at with wanting to buy a house? And these are topics that we actually talked about maybe on our third date when I was like 20 years old. So I kind of knew that he always wanted to have kids, you know, wanted to buy a house eventually. Like when we were first dating, we had very much so the same goals, but as we're getting older, these goals are becoming like more real for us. So to have this checkpoint and to actually sit down and talk about it and write it down was really pivotal for us. And it makes sure that we're in alignment. I understand where he's coming from. He knows where I'm coming from. We both also know our fears and our excitements with all of these things. But sitting down and having just a true conversation, I think, was really helpful. Even though maybe kids aren't in our future until the next 5 years, like having the question like, is there anything that we can do now within our means to prepare for that? And me and him both think that there is. I think I Googled how much do you have saved before you have your first child, and I think it was like $20,000. I'm like, okay, let's try to save now so that we can kind of prepare for our first kid in case we're not in a good spot. That's where that kids fund comes from. And I know that I want to have a wedding. I know that I'm a very detailed person. We just want to save as much as we can. Talked about all of those things. And even though these are big, like really heavy life things to talk about, there's also no pressure from my side on him or his side on me to like follow this timeline. Like for us, if it happens, it happens. And if it also happens in a different way at a different time than we originally planned for, that's okay. I just want us to be as best prepared as possible, and if we're not, we also believe that we can roll with the punches. So you guys can see kind of all of my savings goals this next year. I also rank it by priority level, so that like, let's say this month I don't have enough to put into my Christmas fund. Since that's like a medium priority, I'll prioritize one of my other goals. And also what's not tracked here is my HSA or my health savings account and my 401k. So I'm debating if I want to track it on here. I don't know, but I do know for sure that I want to increase my 401k contributions by 1%. So I think right now I'm at 12% of my paycheck. So if and when I get a raise, I'm going to raise that up to 13% to help kind of measure out or level out the life creep. And then also maxing out my HSA, my health savings account, at the end of this year. That's where we're refocusing and rebalancing, really trying to be my own rich man, you know? That is essentially my 2025 reset. I hope this video was inspirational or helped you think of ideas on goals that you can set in this new year. I know that we are ever-flowing, ever-changing, evolving humans, so even if you don't reach these goals, it's absolutely okay. But it's nice to have goals and try to at least get somewhere. Like 1% improvement every single day, I think truly makes a difference. I'll probably be doing quarterly resets this next year, so you guys can catch me at the end of March and we can revisit our goals. Just as I said in the beginning of this video, remember that you don't need a whole new year to make any changes. You can make small changes every single day that will lead to lasting impact. So you are not behind, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I'd love to hear about your goals. If you plan for 2025, leave some of your goals in the comments below and let's talk about it and hold each other accountable. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you. Bye. Say bye, Harlow. Bye. He's like, let's go to sleep. Let's turn off this bright light in my face. Okay, let's go. Bye, you guys. Oh, I can eat.